Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's in the 80s, so it's comfortable, but it's overcast and it looks like rain, but not imminent, or so I hope. There are a number of stories, as usual, that I think we can wrap our minds around. One I particularly like out of New Mexico is that a judge there barred a commissioner from running for office, citing the U.S. Constitution, Article 14, Section 3. And you may know what that reference is, but in case you've overlooked it or not heard about it before, it's a section that provides if a person does support an uprising, an attempt to overthrow the government, then he or she, or an entity, I suppose, can be barred from holding public office. And this particular commissioner in New Mexico, he was outside on January the 6th when the attack happened on the Capitol. Now, there are motions in other states. One of the Carolinas, I don't know if it's North or South Carolina, has one, and there are a couple of others. But there are the lowly types. They are just like the Just Us Department did. They went after the low-hanging, trespassing offenders, the grunts in the, as I said yesterday on Ari, cuckoo. And these people, yes, they should be prosecuted and they should be barred. And we have one right here in Loudoun County who was up there on the Hill and so forth. And some people are stirring around again about doing something about his misconduct in support of the uprising. So, but the real target of this use should be in every state where Trump plans to run, that he should be barred from even filing papers for this same reason. Because he, above all, is responsible for trying to overthrow the government, to lie about the election he lost, to use legal theorems that mean nothing and were known to be frivolous even when they were proposed. So that's number one on my hit parade. South Carolina had a proposal to exclude the exceptions they were going to grant for rape and incest in an abortion bill. The Democrats decided to sit on their hands and let the Republicans sort it out themselves, to illustrate what the Republicans are doing. The Republicans were wary of getting rid of that exception, but what they did was they made an abortion after 12 weeks unlawful. So the idiocy continues. It's very interesting, and Hofstadter's written about this, if I remember correctly, that there's always been an anti-intellectual feeling in America, and on a whole host of subjects. And we've seen it manifest in recent years, and certainly it's true in abortion, that we have a religious principle that they're trying to supplant an effort at the law to deal with what people will and have done no matter what law you pass, meaning women will be hurt and unwanted children will be born. So the interesting thing about America is how the founders of this nation were men of extraordinary intellect. So where does this anti-intellectual bent come from? And it's not that the people who tell us lies became stupid. It is that many of them are smart enough to tell a lie to obtain an objective. This is the means versus the ends test. I mean, look at Jefferson, Madison, Adams, all these people, you know, they weren't taking courses in the summer to make up for their understanding of basic algebra. So we have this anti-intellectual constant in America almost ever since the revolution, and it works against us. And some of it, I think, is born of the notion when there was the anti-Semitism. So, and I can't say which is the chicken and the egg, but anti-Semitism was a problem in America, and it was a tragedy in Germany. And from time to time, it's been very difficult here. And when you look for things to demark individuals, that's why we're against them. That person's fat, that person's smart, that person believes in X, Y, and Z, that person's from this religion or that neighborhood. That's the kind of heinous, poisonous thinking that has become the hallmark of the Republican Party. So when women in South Carolina are being openly abused in this way by all those white men, keep in mind what it is. It's the fear of a woman in charge. How different is that compared to the likely, or maybe already in position, PM of Great Britain, a woman, and not the first, and Israel, in Germany. But America lags behind in openness, in intelligence, in equality. So when people talk about our exceptional existence, call them liars, because that's what they are. We are hanging back and receding into a dark period from which we thought we'd emerged because of the intellects of our founders, in the documents they espoused, and the forms of government they chose. Now, let's turn to another bad story. The judge in Florida, who probably had no business being on the case, but the government didn't object. And I think they should have. They should have made a thing of it. Because we can't... I have a friend who said that, we come to a knife fight with a butter knife. I think it's worse than that. And increasingly, I think we don't realize that we have to go for every legitimate issue we can in court or in the field of battle, which is the public field as well. And the two are part and parcel of this fight to save our republic. So we have a judge down in Florida who said, listen, I think we should have a special master look at this stuff. Delay, delay, delay. I think on top of that, you, the Justice Department, you stop looking at this shit. We don't want you looking at this. Stop that. Delay, delay, delay. But what else is it? It is based on bad law. It's based on bad judgment. So is it based on an affiliation that the judge feels for Trump for putting her on the court, and that her part of the contract is just as it was for Barr when he went to the Justice Department? It is to serve the Lord and Master, the golden-throned one, the biggest fraud perhaps in American history, who successfully bullies those with intellect and seemingly with power that they don't exercise. So what should we do with the judge? We should challenge her and lose if we do, because we have to illustrate whenever these people get it wrong that they got it wrong. And we will learn more about this Justice Department in battle by how they handle the judge's ruling. And I think they're going to sit on their hands. And that, I assume, is under the direction of Garland. Garland the inert. Garland the sleepy master. Garland who goes so far and then, whoa, that would mean courage. That would mean action. That would mean writing history. That would mean taking on the worst public criminal who's ever compromised this government in and of himself, by his leaderships and by his alliances and by his mob-like tendencies, letting him go. Talk is cheap. I was very lucky, I thought, to have a chance to participate with Ari Melber last night on his special. And I don't want to embarrass him, but I think he set forth, even better than the January 6th committee, in very understandable terms, what the conspiracy is. A single, large conspiracy, in my opinion, going back to when they served all these fraudulent actions after the election, and when they sought to have electors, bogus electors, come forward so they could derail what is normally a simple count to choose, in this case, Biden as the president. And that they had all of these things going on, almost always the same personnel. So, if we don't fight at every point, and we can do it lawfully, there are avenues to challenge a judge. Use them. The 11th Circuit rules against us. Go to the Supreme Court. Fight valiantly. Make the case to the public in the courtroom, in the streets, and ultimately at the ballot box. That's what we have to do. And then finally, if you or I had a kid and they were telling our child to go to Uvalde, we tell them take a walk. That building should be torn down and a memorial should be put there, and no child should ever have to go in that building and think for a moment that education was a risky business, and any moment somebody could come through the door and kill your child. That's just not acceptable. I heard one father say that his child, was scared to go back to the school, so he wasn't sending him. That is a very good parent, a sensible parent, concerned that his kid won't 20 years from now have some screwed up problem with meds and other things because the right decision wasn't made on his behalf. So, that's what I'm thinking. I am in my cathedral of trees, and it is beautiful in this half sunlit evening. Bye-bye.